you for joining me. I am going to be tying what is in my vise, which is my version of the Grey Boy buzzer. This has been a cracking pattern for me, very, very good early season, so I'm tying up a load to put in my box right now. And it also bizarrely works really well for me on hot days. No idea why, but fish static on hot days, it's a killer. An early season, casting out straight line nymphing, straight line buzzers, just letting the wind drift it round, and the fish absolutely slam these. And the best bit is they are super easy to tie. What we've got in the vise is a Togens scud hook, size 12. The body of this is grey Spanflex, or Flexifloss, or whatever you want to call it. And the thorax is Vicuna dubbing in black. And the rib of the fly, I used to know it as black microglint. It's now called Vivus I01. But it's basically a black thread with a load of different coloured bling turned through it. Absolutely fantastic when the sunlight hits it. So, let's get on and tie the pattern. Just putting the hook at a funny angle in the vise because we're going to go into the bend a bit for this one, as I like to with all the buzzers I tie on curved hooks. First up, I'm just going to lay enough thread down to secure it, and then snip off your waste piece. And with the old fly tying rule, you tie in first what you're going to use last. The rib goes in first, so that's the microglint. And I like to leave a fairly decent tag end, just makes it easier to snip it off, not fiddling about with short bits. And then we've got the Spanflex to go in. Again, the half decent tag end on that makes it very easy to tie off at the end of it all. And now what we're going to do is take all this down to the bend of the hook. What I like to do is also pull the Spanflex as tight as possible. I like my buzzers to be thin, so to reduce bulk, A, I've not taken the thread all the way down the hook shank, and B, we're pulling that Spanflex as tight as we can. And the beauty of the Spanflex is it's slippery, so each thread wrap is sliding nicely up that Spanflex and butting up against the last one, so it makes for a much more even body. We're going to take the thread back up anyway, but it all helps, right? So there we are, we're down just that way, and then we can pull this tag end away, pull it tight, snip it off. Job done. And now all we need to do is take the thread all the way back up again, covering any spots you think you've missed. Up to the thorax, please excuse me, and a quick whip finish to save you work. Not necessary, but the whip finish really allows you to manoeuvre the hook and the vise any way you want without the thread slipping off the front. So here we go. And when I take the Spanflex up, you'll notice I pull it really, really tight to start with. And then as I go up, I'm going to loosen the tension on it, and that will create a nice natural taper. And you'll also notice I am not doing touching turns. I'm leaving a small gap in between each one, much like you do when you're doing quill bodies. And what that will allow is the microglint to sit in that gap and just bed down slightly, as opposed to sit on the Spanflex where it could get shredded and horrible. At this point, I'm just going to ease the tension on the thread. on the Spanflex. Just going to let that tension go. And it is slippery, so as you let the tension go, please don't do what I did on a previous fly and let go of the Spanflex, because then it will all come unravelled and you'll look like a bit of a chump. There we go, right. And then we're just going to tie this off. Not like that, we're not though. We all make mistakes. If you're not happy, Don't fool around, don't try and fudge it. If you're not happy, undo it, go back, do it again. Fishing is all about confidence, and if you've not got confidence in the fly that you've tied, you are not going to fish it well. But because this is slippery stuff, I'm taking it all the way down the front as far as I can, pulling it tight each time, because when I snip it off, I'm going to pull it tight. It's going to shoot back up a little bit. I don't want it to shoot all the way out of that revel. There we go. So take that back. Now it is span flex time. And I find it easier, certainly using curved hooks with the bobbin in the way, to have the hook sideways on when you're doing this type of work. But basically, we're ribbing, making sure it goes in the gaps. That's where a rotary vise kind of comes in handy. Doing this under a bit of tension as well, just so that it does slip nicely into the gap that we left when we were tying that span flex up. Here we go. Just tie that off. Two in front, a couple behind, until you're happy. Hold the thread out of the way so you don't snip that. Get rid of the span flex. You know what I mean, microglide. There we go. Okay, reposition the hook in your vise so that it's upright now that we're concentrating on the thorax. And with the vicuna dubbing, what I like to do is take a pinch, snip that pinch in half, and then align the fibres just by pulling them apart, putting them on top of each other, pulling them apart, putting them on top of each other, pulling them apart, putting on top of each other. What this doesn't do, it doesn't affect the bugginess at all, but it does make it easier to dub. What we're going to do is create a dubbing noodle, as loose or as tight as you want, and then create a thorax. And again, this is your fly, so create a thorax that you're happy with, the size that you want. I'm not going to tell you to make it bulky or not bulky or whatever. You'll know when the thorax is right and when it's not. Slide that material up. I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit. You can always brush it out afterwards as well, don't forget. Tighten up again. Tighten that up again. I'm good with that. I don't think that needs any more. So I'll pull the rest off, putting everything back from the eye, and then all we're going to do is whip finish. I like to do two, just in case. Not that I don't have confidence in my whip finishes, I hasten to add. Here we go, and that's it. The fish is quite high in the water for me. That thorax will keep it, or make it sink slower. If you wanted it to sink quicker, you could certainly put some resin or varnish on the body. You could tighten the thorax up and fish it lower down on a team. But that's it, give it a go. Try different colours, try different microglint, different thorax. Let me know how you get on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Please drop me a line, get in touch, and I hope you have some success and you've learned something. Tight lines.